As a guitar player, using just 2 notes to play a 7th chord is not only possible, but it's a great way of leaving an effective footprint on the tune you're playing on. So let's look at how to do it. Let's look at this chord progression. We're in A minor, which has the same notes and chords as C major, but A minor feels like the home chord, so we're saying we're in A minor. So we've got A minor 7, these are all 7th chords, F major 7, C major 7, B minor 7 flat 5, E minor 7, and back to A minor 7. To do the 2-note voicing for the 7th chord, all you've got to do is play the 3rd and the 7th of that 7th chord. So if we look at A minor 7 and the notes within A minor 7, we've got A, C is the minor 3rd, E is the 5th, G is the minor 7. So all I need is the 3rd, C, and the 7th, G. So I'm going to keep this G where it is. That's the 7th taken care of. And I'm going to play the C, the minor 3rd, there. So I've got G on the 5th fret of the D string. And I've got C on the 5th fret of the G string. So if I play this little double stop, and the bass player or someone who's got the low register plays an A, we get that minor 7 sound, and all we're doing is playing a little double stop. Interesting side note, that is a 4th. That interval between the G and the C is a 4th. So that's our minor 7 taken care of, that A minor 7. So I'm just going to play that. F major 7, we need the 3rd and the 7th. So if we look at the 4 notes of F major 7, we've got F, A, C, E. So I'm going to take the 3rd, A, on the 7th fret of the D string, and the 7th, E, on the 9th fret of the G string. Interesting side note, that is a 5th. Looks like a little power chord. For the C major 7, let's look at the 4 notes in the C major 7. C, E, G, and B. So we need E and B. Now if you remember, we're coming from an F major 7, which was A and E. And we need an E and a B, so we've got a common tone here. The E on the 9th fret of the G string doesn't need to move. That can stay where it is for the C major 7. And then all we need to do is move the A from the 7th fret of the D string to B on the 9th fret of the D string. Now, B minor 7 flat 5. Let's look at the 4 notes of a B minor 7 flat 5. We've got B, D, the minor 3rd, F, the flat 5, diminished 5th, and A, the minor 7. So we just need D, the minor 3rd, and A, the minor 7. We were here, B and E. I could just move both those notes down a whole step to get our A and D. And the final chord, E minor 7. Let's look at the 4 notes of E minor 7. We've got E, G is the minor 3rd, B is the 5th, D is the minor 7. Again, if you remember, in the previous chord, we had a D. So we've got another common tone here, so we don't need to change that D. All we need to do is change the A from the B minor 7 flat 5 to a G for this E minor 7. So we're going to go from 7 and 7 on the D and G strings to 5 and 7 on the D and G strings. So now we've got back to A minor 7. And again, look there at the end, there's another common tone. That G from the E minor 7 doesn't have to change when we get to the A minor 7. Like that. Let's hear that with the track. Okay, that sounded great, but I think from a compositional harmony point of view, I would rather have, instead of E minor 7, which is the 5 chord in this key, instead of E minor 7, I would rather E dominant 7. This is probably more common in minor keys. Not all the time, but it's pretty common that the 5 chord becomes major and often dominant as well. So even though E minor is kind of the diatonic chord, it's more common to use E major or even E7. It just provides a little bit more tension and release. So how is that going to affect our double stop? Well, if we start with the B minor 7 flat 5, which was A and D, all we've got to do now is change, when we go to the E minor 7, instead of G and D, we're going to change that G to a G sharp. Hear that tension, this tritone, and then that's going to resolve to the A minor 7. So we're going to go B minor 7 flat 5, E7, A minor 7, like that. Let's hear that with the track. Yeah, I definitely prefer that E7. I like the tension and the release when we get to the A minor 7. But we could still add something to this part. So, when we're going from A minor 7, the lower voice, the G, is just going up a second to A when we go to the F major 7. So the lower voice is just going. The higher voice, C, is jumping a third to E. Nothing wrong with that. It sounds great. It works. But we could just add a little step in there, like this. It just adds a tiny little bit of movement and interest. And as long as it's, as long as you're not doing loads of stuff and you're not stepping on the toes of the singer, this kind of stuff just adds that little something. So now we'd get. I like that. Now when we go to the C major 7, we could just hit that double stop. But I could kind of repeat that D to E thing, so I could go. Not amazing, but it sounds pretty good, that. It'll sound better in context. I'm quite happy with the move to the B minor 7 flat 5. I don't think we need to add too much. I don't want to make it too busy. So this is our B minor 7 flat 5. I do kind of fancy getting that diminished fifth in there somewhere. The diminished fifth of B is an F. So this higher voice is playing a D. So I know an F is just here on the 10th fret of the G string. So if I could somehow incorporate that before jumping to the E7, that's okay, but it kind of feels a bit jumpy, a bit scatty. So how about if we jump to the F and then come down through the E before landing on the D from the tritone. So that sounds really cool. I like that. Before finally resolving to that, and you can add so much. You know, you could go something like that. You know, a little bit fancier. Something like that. There's loads you can do, but I just want to show you how when you're writing parts, if you see them as voices, if they're making massive jumps, if that's a feature you like, if you like the jump, if you like the third from the A on this top voice, this upper voice, if you like that jump, then great, leave it in. But I kind of just fancied that little step up the scale, so I'm just going C, D, and then E on top. Let's hear how that little, more of a guitar part sounds with the track now. Yeah, I love that as a guitar part. It's not flashy, but it's just got all the important information with a little bit of standing out. You know, there's little lines, connecting lines. It just pops out a little bit, but generally it's just sitting back, letting the singer or the song do its thing. These double stops, these 2-note voicings for 7th chords work in every genre you can imagine. I know I've done kind of a funky soul thing, but it'll work in honestly anything from metal to jazz, country, whatever, it'll work. The only thing I'd say is if you go too low in the register, it gets a little bit muddy. They can work up high, you know, on the top two strings. But generally I think they sound really sweet on the D and G strings, the G and B strings, maybe the A string as well. I'd encourage you to go out there, implement these where you can, in the song you're writing, in the band you're jamming with, at the gig you've got this weekend. It'll improve not just your part playing and your rhythm playing, but it'll improve your lead playing as well, because you'll start to see how these chords connect. As you change chords, you'll recognize which voice needs to go where, which voice can stay the same. It'll improve your playing all around. So yeah, I hope you found that really useful. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel, give the video a like, and leave a comment below if you've got any questions. The link to my Patreon is below as well, if you'd like to support the channel. Thank you very much. See you next time.